G'day everyone and welcome back to another video. This video I'm going to go through pretty much everything you need to know, and what you need to do to catch floodies in the Swan River. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, chuck some comments in there if you want to know anything. So in this video I'll be dropping a little code. Show that in store in the next week and we'll give you a special sale on a few select floody lures to get you started. Maybe one of those, I don't know. You have to find out. Have a look on Facebook as well. No doubt there'll be one put up there on our Facebook and Instagram pages, so stay tuned for that one. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy the video. We've got a few rods here. Some rods that I'd recommend for flathead fishing. Bear in mind that I would match these to the style of fishing you're going to do the most. So got one fast taper rod, the Daiwa in feet there, that's the Z. They're about 330 bucks. They're the middle range. There's 3 different ranges in the in feet series, all at different price points and heaps of different models in there, so you can get the right one for you. That is a fast taper one, it's the red and black. And that's gonna be best for your plastic fishing. Also if you're partial to the lead head jigs, which a few of the old fellas out there will know what I'm talking about. Fantastic floody lure that I used to throw back in the day and it's still really effective. But yeah, there's that rod there. The other two I've got here, I'll start off with the cheaper one. This is the in feet, the base model, the 2020 Daiwa in feet. That's a 7'2" UL RS. So the RS there is regular spin. So unlike the red and black one here, we got the white and blue one. This is a regular tapered rod. So it'll bend more evenly throughout the blank rather than mostly at the tip. And what that does for your fishing is it enables you, once you hook a fish on trebles, to keep those trebles in. So things like your ZX blades by EcoGear, with those really tiny assist hooks on there, it's gonna keep them pinned in. Same goes for any of your trebles on all of your diving lures, your bib minnows, everything like that, bent minnows. But yeah, so that would be my preference if you are targeting floodies using those style of lures. That's the cheaper option of the two that I would go with. Fantastic value for money, those things as well. Then the other one I got, the Ocean's Legacy Quest. Now these things are very new to the market, released I think earlier this year. And they were released initially to target whiting. Using these on whiting, I can understand why. The regular taper on these enables you to keep those tiny hooks in so easily, like virtually dropping no fish compared to on a fast taper rod dropping half of them. So that's the Quest there. Really cool split butt, really light rod as well, you notice when you pick one of these up. And these are more premium option at about 380 bucks. So again, same thing applies there. Regular taper rod for fishing your hard bodies, things with trebles, things with small hooks. That's the one. They'll still fish plastics all right, but not as ideal for plastics, because with plastics you're using heavier gauge hooks that you need to actually set the hooks on. With trebles and small hooks, they're sticky. They get set with minimal force, and then all you have to do is keep them in. Jump straight into the reels. So you can use virtually any kind of spin reel, from a $25 little cheapie to your Exists and Stellas and things like that. The reality is, for flathead, you don't really need to blow the bank. But there are a few good options that you get for a little more money. So like all your Sedonas and things like that, your lower end reels will do the trick. But the two things I look for in a reel when I'm chasing flathead is smooth drag and some degree of water resistance. So the reels I've got here are Shimano Vanford, the 1000. The 2500 will do a fantastic job as well. The Daiwa Frames and the Daiwa Luvius. I'll start with the Vanford here. Really nice drag sound, I do like that about them. I run one of these on one of my rods and they're ridiculously light. So that's why I favour them. With a rod like the Quest, you want to keep that lightness as a priority. So I run a very small light reel on it. As far as the waterproofing goes in these, it's more of a labyrinth system that Shimano has. And they're a reel that can be readily serviced by virtually any reel servicer. The thing with the Daiwas is they have the MagSeal water sealing system in there, and that's basically a magnetised oil, and that can only be serviced by Daiwa or other certified reel services for that. So you have to essentially send them back, and there's a time frame where you're not going to have your reel. Yeah, the reason I favour reels with good water sealant systems is essentially you're fishing on the flats a lot of the time. You're out there on the water and things happen, like you drop your reel in the water, it happens. So you want to have a reel that can stand up to it a little better than most, and get that longevity out of your reel. Bear in mind that if it goes in water, I would recommend getting it serviced, because it's the thing, reels are never fully sealed as much as they say they are. They never really are. As far as the drag goes on all of these reels as well, when I run quite a loose drag, I like to set the hooks on a flatty and let it run, let it head shake, let it do what it wants. So what I look for on these is a nice, smooth, light drag. The Daiwas do really well on this. There's only a few Shimanos that I really rate for that, but most Daiwas do well, even the cheap ones like the Gallus LT. Very nice reels. So as far as price goes on these and what you're looking at really, the cheaper of the ones we got here is the Freems LT. And the reason I didn't pick one cheaper was because this is the entry level for Mag Seal, which is the Daiwa sealant system. So this is the cheapest reel suitable for flatties that has Mag Seal in it. Add to that the fact they got smooth drag and a really smooth, durable reel. Very good value for money there. I think 220 odd bucks, something like that. Don't quote me on it. Then stepping up from there, got Shimano Vanford. That's the 1000 size got there. Really smooth reel, really light reel. Honestly, best bang for buck going out there. As far as brim, flatties, anything light tackle goes, these are my pick personally. Yeah, I think they're about high 300s. But yeah, very worth the money. They got the CI4 body, so that keeps the lightness there. With a black and red rod like the Daiwa Infeed, the fast taper one behind us there, they match up really nicely. Crossing Daiwa and Shimano is a bit controversial, but I do it. And then finally, we've got the Daiwa Luvius there, Luvius LT. There's so many reels in that kind of $500 range by Daiwa that would do this trick. So you got the Revelry, which is just a step below, and then you can step up to like a Surtape, which is a little more than this. And they'll all do a fantastic job. They all got really good drag, all got the Mag Seal, so yeah, they won't let you down. That's more of your premium option. You can even go up to an Exist if you so choose, but yeah, we'll leave that for the big players. So I'll move on now to line and terminal tackle. Let's start with the line. So braided line's pretty much essential for this. You want maximum casting distance with light lures and light rods. So graphite rods like the ones I showed you before, and braided line go hand in hand. As far as braid goes, you probably want an 8 strand. You want that castability that you're going to get with a smoother braid. So there's so many different. Wait for police. There's so many different braids out there to choose from. Even like 8 strand, there's hundreds of options. So I'll just show you some of my favourites, or ones that I'd happily recommend. Kick it off with the Siglon. So we carry this in a bulk spool, and this is a P.6, which breaks at a maximum of 10 pounds. That's going to be more than enough to tackle flatties. There is a 0.8, which breaks at 12 as well. But that thinner line, that P.6 is my favourite for getting that casting distance. And also, a lot of your flatty outfits are also going to be brim outfits, which P.6 is fantastic for as well. I'll move on. Premium braid, Varavass. Don't need to say much about this apart from the fact it's Japanese, and that means it's good. And also, what I will touch on is the colour there. So all the braids are picked here, including the Dangan in this box, are multicoloured or high vis. So as far as flatty fishing goes, that's not, unless you're fishing plastics a lot of the time, it's not hugely essential. But again, if you're fishing the same combo for brim or doing any work with soft plastics, to detect those hits on the drop on a plastic or a vibe, you really need high vis line. You'll see the little tick in the line and you strike. Very hard to do if you've got line that somewhat camouflages with the water. Move on for the Varavass, and we got some Dangan. Very good value. We've got this on sale. Was 60 bucks, now 30, and 150 meters of P.6. I actually use this stuff at the moment on my Vanford, and it's bloody amazing. For the price especially, it's fantastic. Well worth getting into that. Important to note that when you're using braid, you do not want to be using swivels to attach your leader and your braid. Essentially, braid does not bite well in a knot to solid things like swivels, but it does bite well in a knot to things like other line, like mono or fluorocarbon in this case. That's an 8-pound FC rock. 8 pounds what I use as an all-rounder for flathead in the Swan. There may be a need to go heavier in certain circumstances, maybe up to a 12-pound, but I haven't been bitten off on 8-pound for so long it's not funny. 3 years, I reckon. Yeah. And I've caught hundreds of flathead in that time. It stands up to it, especially when you consider that fluorocarbon is more invisible in water and has greater abrasion resistance than a traditional mono. Flathead have abrasive teeth. They've got sharp spines on the edge of their gills, and also quite often you're fishing for them around structures on the flats like rocks. So if they run around a rock like that, you want to have the ability to extract that fish, and that fluorocarbon is going to give you a better shot than mono will. There's not a lot of terminal that really needs to be touched on for floody fishing, as you know, most of it comes with the lures anyway. But there's two here that I'll show you guys that I like to use. This one here is an upgraded treble from what you usually get on your lures. So flathead love to shake their heads, they love to run, they love to just do things randomly and wake up out of nowhere. So, you know, it's going to put a lot of stress on light gauge hooks. I just upgrade them slightly. If it makes the suspending lure slightly sink, that's not a drama to me. Essentially, that's just keeping it in the strike zone. So sticky trebles like these decoy YS 25s are very, very handy. I match the trebles to the size of the lure as well, by the way. It's not always size 12. And then these little decoy twist clips are dynamite. So I actually, in my pocket, always carry a little box of lures that I might use throughout the session. And I simply have one of these on, twist them on and off to change lures, much better than a traditional clip, because essentially they're tiny. I don't know if you can see them in the packet there, but they are absolutely tiny. So, you know, the fish isn't going to see them, or it's not going to make any difference to your hookup rate. And they're really effective, and I haven't had one bend out of me yet though, even though they're 10-pound rated, those small ones. Fantastic. Especially if you're brim fishing as well, you know, herring, all of those things where you want to change lure to change your style of fishing or where you're fishing, those are definitely worth a look. So now I'll just show you through some of my favourite lures for flathead fishing. There's so many different lures that you can use, it's not even funny. Like, depending on whether you're targeting them on the flats or you're targeting them on drop-offs and different structures, you'll use different lures effectively. Even upriver and downriver I use different lures. First one I'll show you is this little guy. Quite often overlooked, but a bit of an OG, RMG Scorpion. When I first started getting into flatty fishing, or even lure fishing in general, I used one of these. And all I did was slow roll it. So I pretty much just cast it around and just wind it back to me slowly. And yeah, that caught fish. My PB flatty still to date is on one of these. Very good lures, very underrated, and very cheap, 12 bucks. As far as lures go, that's fantastic. They do float, so they're not a suspending lure, so they are more suited to that twitch with small pauses and in particular a slow roll. Brim will have a crack at those as well. Next one, and this is the one I find myself using the most, particularly in the Swan, because of the amount of blowies around and also the terrain you're fishing. In particular, all of those flats is your suspending minnows. So I've got a little selection here that I use. Zip baits make a heap of good ones, so hence they're heavily featured. First one that's my favourite, 100% that's my favourite. It's a zip bait, Campson Junior in Carmen Red. And I don't even know what to say about this. It just catches so many fish. I don't know what it is about red, but flatties love it. Gold as well. So we got another zip bait there. That's a Riggy 70 suspending, shallow diver. So that's more suited to your flats, your true flats, you know, about shallower than waist deep. Good thing about Camson though is it digs into the bottom on the flats, creates a bit of commotion, and then you can also fish it around drop-offs. It's really versatile like that. Then you got like a Riggy here if you want a smaller profile. That's a good colour there. Bit of flash for the lower reaches. I do like that one. That's the one you would have seen me use in the flathead video that we released last summer. That's the one there. Dynamite little suspending lure again. And this guy, little duo suspending minnow. Paint's gone off, can't remember what it's called, but really good. Little dynamite Tassie brim lure, by the way, as well, but really good in the Swan for flatties. The way I work all of these is just slow twitches and pauses. If you rip it too much, essentially you're going to pull it out of their face. So, you know, rhythmical little twitches and pauses, give those pauses a long time for the fish to come and attack the lure. And I find, yeah, almost always with these lures, you get it on the pause. Basically, that lure just darts along and then stops. And they almost always, I reckon 95% of the time, hit it on the pause. So that's what makes these things so deadly. They stay in the strike zone and they look very lifelike. So moving on, this little guy, definitely worth a mention. This is a zip bait Raphael. It's basically a small sinking stick bait. There's a few others out there from different brands and stuff like that, but this is my favorite. It's really heavy for its size. I think it's like 4.5 grams or something. Casts like a bullet. And that's also my favorite color. Pretty much the way you work these is not dissimilar to like a plastic. Essentially, you cast it out, you let it hit the bottom in your sand patch that you're targeting, and twitch it up pretty aggressively. You can then let it sink back down to the bottom. It actually shimmies on the way down, so that's when you get a lot of your hits. Really good for brim as well, especially at night time. Very good lure. Ooh, what's next? I think this guy's next. If you're talking about versatile flatty lures, this is pretty much the one that I go to. EcoGear ZX30, or you can use a 35, or even I think they have a bigger size now, which is about 9 grams, about a 43. But this is great for whiting, it's great for brim, and it's fantastic for flatties. The advantage here is basically you can fish it in shallow and deep in any kind of circumstances, cast well into the wind, you know, really versatile option. The way you usually work this for flathead is cast it out, let it hit the bottom, and you basically lift your rod tip, let it vibe or do whatever it does. I think buzzes on the way up, and then on the way down they usually get eaten. Yeah, relatively inexpensive as well. I think they're about 20 bucks. As far as lures go nowadays, that's not too bad, and don't tend to lose too many of them. Those small hooks, man, they don't easily get snagged. They do get snagged, but not particularly easily. Well worth a mention is this guy. So a lot of you out there will be like, what, flathead on surface? What are you on about? These can be used as a subsurface. You just twitch the nose under gently and they'll dart around like that. And then you can bring the flathead up to the surface. When you twitch it under, flathead get a cider of it, you pause it, floats back up, they follow it up and they boof it on the surface. Very fun way of targeting them, particularly if the fish are up shallow and really active. You can get some sick visual eats on those. Oh yeah, get into these. So I left this one till last because I think it's only somewhat applicable to the Swan. I personally don't use a lot of plastics in the lower reaches, purely because of the blowfish, but when I do, it's Z-Mans because they're ridiculously tough. And of all the styles, I like the jerk shad because blowies will have a crack at it. They might take nips out of it, but for the most part, it won't affect the action. If they take the tail off a grub, there goes your grub, you can't use it anymore. If they take the tail off your minnow style, your paddle tail, then yeah, that one's gone as well. So these ones the action tends to stand up longer. And the jig head I'd match those two is just one of those guys. Little 1/8 jig head. Yeah, you can go heavier or bigger hooks, or all of those things are down to personal preference. That's just the one I go with. Yeah, that's my little bunch of lures there that I throw for flatties. Pretty good selection there. And if you're getting into flatty fishing, find your niche, find the area that you're looking to target, and then pick lures that will suit that area. So upriver, I like that kind of gold color. Particularly stands out quite well in that dirty water with that gold flash. And then downriver, like more of your naturals, like that. And red's good anywhere. If it's red, it's dead. So as easy as flathead fishing is, there's certain bits and pieces out there which will make it a lot easier for you. First one is a pair of small pliers that can be used to de-hook fish. Keep these in your pocket, and essentially, you know, you don't want to be getting the hooks out with your fingers on these flathead. They'll spike you, they'll make you bleed, you'll get hooks in your hands. It's not very fun. Pliers are well worth a shot there, particularly if you're releasing your fish anyway. Another one is a reversible tackle box. So essentially it's got trays on both sides. That side there, you flip it over, that side there. Advantage of that is you can store heaps of lures, but without them all getting tangled together in the same compartment. So they're really handy. That's a Versus one. They're about 15 bucks, so very worthy investment. As far as wading goes, you can use virtually any wading boot, but I really like these ones. They're really solid sole on them. So step on that cobbler, not much of a problem. Well, it's a problem if he gets you on the ankle, but they've also got these studs on the bottom there. So if you're wading around any kind of slippery rocks, a lot of the better flatty areas do have rocks, then you'll prevent yourself from major embarrassment and a few scratches down the legs by having one of these. And yeah, even potentially worse injury. Best part is they're adaptable to, your tailor fishing on the reefs, any circumstance where you're land-based or wading and need to protect your feet from some nasties. So, well worth having a look at those. Now this is essential. Pretty much, if you're out 50 meters on the flat and you hook a flatty, you have to walk it in without one of these to unhook it. You don't want to be, messing around with flatties that are swimming around your feet, head shaking, trying to put hooks in you, trying to put the gill rakers in you. It's not very fun. So kayak net that you can just attach the lanyard there to your pocket, to anything on your body really. Very handy, you can reach out and get your fish. Also, that mesh there is like a rubber and it's quite thick and big holes in between it. So if you get your hooks in the net, very easy to get them out, unlike a lot of other ones. Yeah, really, really good net. This is the other one. Essentially, if you're flatty fishing, you need to carry your gear with you. These are fantastic. I've got one of these. Pretty much got a couple of clips on them. That. Should I undone that one? So it's a sling bag like this. Goes over your shoulder like that. Wraps around. There you go. Most of the time I'm wading about kind of hip deep. So this stays out of the water. A lot of your traditional wading bags sit around on the hips, so they start getting wet at that point. I like this one because it sits up a little higher. And then all you have to do is unclip that strap if you want to access something, swing it under your arm, and then you can go tuck it under your armpit, get your stuff in the front pocket, get your stuff in the main pocket. Stores heaps of stuff as well. Doubles up as a great little tailor and salmon walking kit for the beaches. So yeah, they're great. They're pretty much all of the accessories that I'd highly recommend for flatty fishing. Makes your life a lot easier out there on the water. Yeah, now I'll touch on some more specifics around where, when and how. So there's so many areas in the Swan where you can target flatties. Virtually any flat that has sand will hold them, any drop off, even the deep water. So there are heaps of flats in the Swan that have flatties. Pretty much all of them, I'd venture to say. The drop offs, all the deep water houses them. I'll just show you guys this flat, which is the one down at Claremont, really local, where we like to fish. And what's there that basically makes it such a great flatty location, and what to look for if you're gonna start heading out to these places and targeting them. So first thing is a drop off here. Basically runs all the way along. There's a nice little curve in that with some access into the flat here through that deeper channel. It looks good. But fish will sit along that, particularly around the structure. You can see all these here. I think they're rocks. So all through here, I know these are rocks with a bit of weed covering on them. All these channels between them are gonna have flatties. Like, that's where they'll sit in ambush, particularly around the edges as well. But you can see if you're approaching from this side here and you want to cast through here, if you take 5 steps forward, you're gonna reach new channels and keep doing that. That is one way to approach it. You will catch flatties doing that. I'm not sure that it's the most efficient way, but you will definitely catch them. The other way to do it is focus on areas like you see, this is a weed edge here. That's where I found flatties will concentrate, is on those weed edges. So that's where I'm gonna concentrate a lot of my casts. The other feature you'll see out here on the flats is basically open sand, but with a bit of change in depth. Flatties will sit on open sand any day of the week, but the problem is, in a sand patch that size, where's the flatty? You have to really work to find him. So that means fanning your casts really tightly, half a metre apart, taking a few steps forward and then doing it all over again to cover the ground properly. If you're not doing it well enough, if you're starting to spook fish by, pretty much walking into them. because more often than not, flatties will smoke a lure if you put it past their nose. Yeah, that's pretty much all of that structure through there. That has all of the key things I'm looking for as a flatty location. But yeah, me personally, I look for flats with a good, strong weed edge and focus my attention on that. You know, I could even go across the bay here to what's this, Peppy Grove, and you've got this strong weed edge through here. So any pretty much flat in the Swan River is good for that. And then you go further upriver to Nedlands and that, further up this way, and you've got these kind of muddy banks and flats, and Flathead all sit on all of these as well. So you can target them there as well, and usually when I'm up that way I just target brim and the flatties come as bycatch. It's important to note as well, you get these kind of really shallow sections of the flats here that are, you know, less than knee deep really. Bear in mind they're always the parts of the flats that are going to heat up first when you get that hot sun on a summer's day. So that's where your flatties are going to sit first thing a lot of the time. So when you go and enter the water and try to wade out to your favourite depth for a good looking structure, don't ignore this shallow stuff because you'll spook some donkeys doing that, and essentially you just keep learning the hard way. So there's a lot of people have different opinions on, you know, what's the best time to target flathead. There is no real best time. I've caught them at night time, I've caught them sunrise, sunset, middle of the day, you name it, caught it at that time. Generally I favour the hottest part of the day purely because usually the easterlies died down, the sea breeze hasn't kicked in yet. Makes it a little more pleasant on the flats, you know, when you're not getting blown off your feet. So that's quite good. As far as tide's concerned as well, it all actually depends on the location you're fishing. I've found different tides to work particularly well at different locations, so just pick your flat, pick a couple of flats that you want to try for flathead and learn them inside out. Find out what tides work on those flats, and all the other conditions as well. Maybe flats fish well on overcast conditions, maybe they need clean water, just all things to consider. And whilst flathead are great eating, I would encourage that most of those bigger fish, those 45 plus fish, be released. They're really critical for keeping flathead numbers strong in the Swan. And the last couple of years we've seen a huge bounce in the number of fish. Particularly I've noticed size down, but that's a really positive sign for the future. Heaps of small fish around, and even early this year getting good numbers in September. So that shows you it's a good season ahead by the looks of it. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let us know in the comments anything else you'd like to know about flatty fishing. We'll try and get back to you. And yeah, don't hesitate to come and visit us in store and ask all these questions in person, and you know, we'll be able to tell you exactly what you need to do to get into these fish. They're really fun species to target during summer, really easy to find, really easy to catch. Based on the numbers early this season, looks like we're gonna have a fantastic flatty season ahead. So yeah, come and grab your bits and pieces from us at Complete Angler Nedlands. Grab all your lures and your daisy chains there and go get your flatties.